What's up, Bubbas? It's Pilgrim here with you. Don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you ain't done so already. We got some very strange news coming out of California. A couple with their 1-year-old baby and their dog died. They say that toxic algae is to blame. I'm gonna read this article off to you guys, and I'm gonna read a little bit about what toxic algae is. This is some toxic algae in Florida. Here's some more. Here's a dead fish. You can really see how thick this makes the water with all this toxic algae. Here's another dead fish. I'm sorry for being insensitive to all the fish lovers. This article I'm going to be reading off is going to be from livescience.com. A family was recently found dead in a hiking trail along the Merced River in a remote area of the Sierra National Forest in California. There were no signs of damage to their bodies. Investigators are looking into the possibility that toxic algal blooms may be to blame. But is this the likeliest explanation? One researcher told Live Science that while possible, that scenario would be unusual. After a friend reported family missing, searchers discovered the body of John Garish, Ellen Chung, their 1-year-old daughter Miju, and their dog Oski on Tuesday, August 17th, in Mariposa County, along the Hike Cove Trail near Devil Gulch. This is a very unusual, unique situation, Christy Mitchell, a spokesperson for the Mariposa County Sheriff's Office, told the San Francisco Chronicle. There were no signs of trauma, no obvious causes of death. There was no suicide note. They were out in the middle of a national forest on a day hike. What's more, the couple were known to be avid hikers, according to the Chronicle. So this is kind of strange. I don't know how many of y'all are familiar with Missing 411, but this has all the makings and trappings of Missing 411. People will go mysteriously missing in the woods, in the forests, in these national parks, and then they'll be found weeks later, days later, in the most obvious of places people already looked but they didn't find them at first, but then they'll find them again, and it'll be as if nothing happened to them. They'll just be dead. Investigators briefly considered the possibility that the family may have been exposed to toxic fumes from nearby abandoned mines. That's very much so a good possibility as well, I'd have to say. If you take in carbon monoxide, you take in all these gases and heavy metals that they could breathe in, that'd probably tear their lungs up right there. As many as 500,000 abandoned mines may dot the US, according to the Bureau of Land Management. Back when these mines were in operation, their operators could just simply abandon them without removing hazards. Abandoned mines can accumulate many different lethal gases, including methane, carbon monoxide, hydrogen sulfide, and toxic levels of carbon dioxide. If people breathe in these gases, their muscles stop responding normally. Thinking becomes clouded and a person can become unconscious and die. What's more, these chemicals are often odorless, and there are no other warning signs that you're breathing them in, according to the BLM. When the bodies were found, the area was briefly designated as a hazmat site, or an area that may have hazardous materials, quote unquote, to a person's health. The designation was lifted the next day, according to the NPR. Their Mariposa County Sheriff, Jeremy Brees, told the Fresno Bee that he didn't believe the deaths were connected to a nearby mine. The nearest mine was over 3 miles, 4.8 kilometers away from the bodies. Still, because that area had a community of mines, there could be some that we don't know about, Brees said. In the mid-19th century, an area around the Heights Cove held a hard rock gold mine, where certain techniques are used to extract hard minerals holding metals like gold, according to the Associated Press. Brees also said investigators were considering toxic algae blooms as a possible cause, and that the U.S. Forest Service had recently posted warnings about toxic algae at the start of the trail near Heights Cove, where the bodies were found, according to the Fresno Bee. Such blooms are caused by algae or cyanobacteria that grow in the water and can release toxins that can sometimes poison animals, such as cattle or dogs, according to the California Department of Public Health. These toxins can get into the body through ingestion, through the skin, or even through inhalation. People who swim, wade, or participate in other aquatic activities in water laced with cyanobacterial toxins can develop health effects such as skin rashes, diarrhea, and vomiting. if they ingest the toxins, or develop problems with the liver, kidneys, or nervous systems. But there are no known human deaths connected to drinking or wading in such contaminated water, according to the California Department of Public Health. Indeed, Alan Wilson, a professor at the School of Fisheries, Aquaculture, and Aquatic Sciences at Auburn University in Alabama, said that it's unusual for people to die from algal blooms. There are reports, but they're usually kind of anecdotal reports, Wilson told Life Science. I get more people call me this time of the year normally for pet or livestock deaths. Dogs tend to be more susceptible to algae toxins, in part because they get into the water and then get out and lick their fur, potentially ingesting a high dose of toxins, he said. Human exposure when swimming is fairly low. We don't ingest tons of water. In this case, if this family were to be exposed to such toxins, it would likely be from toxic algal mats, not blooms, he said. Why algal blooms are not attached to anything, algal mats cling to the bottom of water, such as on rocks. The Merced River doesn't look particularly deep, and the water moves, which can make it hard for algae to build up and form algal blooms, like it does in lakes, he added. But algal mats, because they're clinging onto rocks, wouldn't flow down the stream. The trail the family was hiking, the Savage Lundy Trail, snakes along the Merced River. On Thursday, August 19th, the State Water Resources Control Board said they were testing waterways in the area for such toxic algae, according to the Fresno Bee. The fact that it was 2 adults, a kid, and a dog makes this a really unusual situation, he said. You think that even if people were exposed, they're not all going to be exposed at the same rate. Investigators are hoping that autopsies and toxicology tests will ultimately reveal more about what happened in this tragic story. So guys, this is an ongoing story, Bubba. It's still unfolding before our eyes. We'll find out more about this. Prayers definitely go out to this family and their loved ones. The situation sucks altogether. The lesson I take from all of this is when you're out there hiking, if you find yourself in SHTF, you're out in the wilderness, keep an eye out. Now, don't go into these caves or these mines. For all you know, there could be toxic fumes coming from out of them. And be careful about where your water sources are at. Be careful about letting your animals swim in the water. I'm gonna read a little bit to you guys from CDC's website about what they say about the toxic algae blooms. Here are some basics, guys. Algae are a group of plants that are usually found in water. Like all plants, algae have a pigment called chlorophyll that they use to turn sunlight into food. Algae can be found in all types of water, including salt water, fresh water, and brackish water. Brackish water is a mix of salt and fresh water. Algae that live in the water can be grouped into 2 categories: seaweed and phytoplankton. Seaweed are large plants made of many cells, and phytoplankton are small, single-celled plants. Both seaweed and phytoplankton sometimes grow quickly or bloom. Some blooms can harm people, animals, or the environment. Most harmful blooms that make people and animals sick are caused by phytoplankton. Blooms can harm people, animals, and the environment when they produce toxins, become too dense, use up the oxygen in the water, and release harmful gases. These harmful blooms can be caused by many types of phytoplankton. However, the 3 main types of phytoplankton cause most blooms that make people and animals sick are cyanobacteria, sometimes called the blue-green algae, dinoflagellates, sometimes called microalgae or red tide, diatoms, sometimes called microalgae, and also called red tide as well. Cyanobacteria, blue-green algae, cause most freshwater bloom for public health concern. Cyanobacteria are a type of phytoplankton found in water and moist soil. Although they are not true algae, cyanobacteria are also known as blue-green algae. Blooms of cyanobacteria are more commonly seen in fresh water, but sometimes can be found in salt water or brackish water. Even though cyanobacteria are a type of bacteria, they do not cause harm by infecting people or other animals. Instead, cyanobacteria can cause harm by making toxins or growing too dense. Dinoflagellates and diatoms cause most saltwater blooms of public health concern. Blooms caused by dinoflagellates and diatoms are called algal blooms. Dinoflagellates and diatoms are 2 different types of phytoplankton and are most often found in salt water or brackish water, included in the estuaries. Harmful algal blooms or dinoflagellates or diatoms are often called red tides because they can make the water appear red. Dinoflagellates are the most common cause of algal blooms in salt water. Dinoflagellates and diatoms can cause harm to people and animals by making toxins or growing too dense. And you hear about red tide a lot happening where people build too close to these oceans and these waterways. I believe that causes some of this pollution. Guys, be careful if you're out there hiking. Be careful what you're drinking from. Be careful with your pets. God bless you. Stay safe. Stay prepped. We'll see you again. No,